Do you have a title or like
Yeah, I'm the White House AI and crypto
White House?
czar.
But do you have like a professor or is anything like that?
No.
Okay,
no.
cool. So David Sachs
Yeah,
is
go
the AI czar for
Bestie.
the White House.
Yeah.
Bestie.
Bestie. Oh, yeah, that's right. Bestie
All
on
right.
the all-in pod as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We were actually just lightly talking before I sat down. And, I said I want to talk about AI. You asked me. I said let's just hit record.
Okay.
So my view is, and tell me if I'm wrong. Once we cross the singularity, as it's referred to, the point at which this is when AI is more intelligent than humanity. Is that humanity as a whole or as an individual human?
Well, I mean, when you start talking about the singularity, I mean, it's called that because the idea is that once the AI gets smart enough to improve itself, then you get in a loop, of
Like an exponential growth curve.
Yes, exactly. It's called recursive self-improvement, and it's very hard for us to see beyond that point, kind of like the event horizon of a black hole or
Yes.
something like that. So by definition, when you're talking about what the world's going to look like after that point, I mean, no one really knows. That's kind of the whole point of it. But I think that people are kind of leaping there to something that may or may not happen or may not happen for a while.
Try and lean a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah. So it may, it's not like I think the immediate thing to worry about with AI.
I wonder about it. With earlier iterations of machine learning algorithms on social media, attempts to have the algorithms essentially improve themselves. On YouTube, it resulted in something called ElsaGate. Are you familiar with that?
No.
YouTube told their algorithm, their machine learning, whatever, content that gets a lot of views, a lot of likes, and is over 10 minutes,
Right.
promote that more.
Sure.
They thought they'd get Game of Thrones, and this is actually what I talked to people at Google. Instead, they got people dressing up like Elsa from Frozen, the Joker, and Spider-Man, chasing each other around for 40 minutes to Benny Hill music.
Right.
And then it eventually devolved into more extreme things like children being stuck with syringes, children eating feces. The program didn't comprehend moral tradition or the boundaries of society or anything like that. So it simply said, people clicked on this one, and it started sharing these extreme images. It was called ElsaGate. Eventually, YouTube shut it down.
Okay.
Do you see any kind of danger with that, or have we gotten past that point where these large language models and a general AI can understand human boundaries?
Well, I think their conceptual understanding it has gotten a lot better. I mean, the amazing thing about LLMs is that it started off with just next word prediction, but it seems to understand concepts too in a remarkable way. And I think there's still some mystery around how exactly that happens, right?
Oh, man. It's coming to life.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I go that far. I think I don't think it's like alive or sentient or something like that. But somehow the doing machine learning through a large language model on language enables like a deeper understanding of not just the words but also the concepts.
Yeah.
That's what I think is kind of remarkable.
Interesting.
But in any event, I mean, I think that to get value out of AI today, such as in the case you're talking about, where YouTube's trying to figure out what do we show users, like what causes more engagement or retention or stickiness, it has to be supervised because it may not give you an answer that always makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
AI still hallucinates a lot. It's still a little bit unreliable, all that kind of stuff. So I still think we're pretty far from the days where the AI figures out on its own exactly what it's supposed to do. It still has to be given the objective by a human.
Yeah.
The human still has to keep it on the rails. You could think of it like, if you think about the case of self-driving for a second, there's still interventions, right?
Right.
But the interventions get, smaller and smaller or fewer over time as the AI gets better and better. So, but we're still at a stage when, when you think about creativity or knowledge work or, generation of, you were talking about music before, or just content in general, there's still a need for human intervention.
Yeah. One thing that we were talking about this last night, and some of the panel's opinion was that AI doesn't do anything new. It's just repeating back to you what humans already know. My view is when consumer-grade quadcopters, drones, started becoming popular, I thought to myself, this technology has existed for, what, decades? How is it only now that we're mass-producing these things? They're just little electric motors with a simple controller. We could have had these a long time ago. Now we see iterations of these used in warfare. So my view would be, with AI taking the big picture of everything that humanity has plugged into it, it's going to connect those dots substantially faster than humans have. If we had the LLM technology we have today 50 years ago, I'd imagine we'd be building quadcopter drone bomb carriers in Vietnam or something like that. Do you see something like that? Am I wrong?
No, I mean, I think AI is a dual use technology. I mean, I think that meaning that it will have military applications. I mean, if it doesn't already, it certainly will. I mean,
But
it's
like,
all-
is
yeah.
it? Will it connect dots? Is this basically what it's going to do? It's going to say humans discovered X, Y, and Z, but have not yet put the pieces together and be able to put them together for us.
So you're talking about like kind of an advanced form of creativity where
Well, this was the question. I don't know if it's being creative. So, for instance, the music generation can combine country and gangster rap.
yeah.
Now, we don't really do that, but by understanding these two things, it was able to make something in between that I wouldn't necessarily call creative, but an amalgamation. If our scientists understood the capabilities of like quadcopter drones and carrying bombs into the battlefield, autonomous grenades essentially, we would have built it 50 years ago. So I'm wondering if this is one of the leaps we're going to see with the general AI technology we have now. The rapid advancement of technology that I think Ray Dalio was mentioning to Tucker Carlson isn't that it's going to discover new things. It's going to connect what we've already discovered in ways we didn't realize.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, but I think that as it gets more powerful, I think all these lines start to blur, and there will be discoveries. And the question is the AI completely doing it on its own, or is it under human supervision? I mean, AlphaFold is, solves protein folding in a way that humans couldn't do on their own.
Yeah.
It's supervised, I guess, but the AI is still coming out with discoveries that would have taken humans hundreds of years. So I think
Wow.
the AI is capable in a way of discovery, but is it capable of operating by itself? No. And so I think there's a question of, does it ever evolve to the point where it is capable of determining its own objectives? How much agency does it really have?
That's the scary thing.
Yeah, that's the question, and then you get into questions of control or
Do you-
alignment, things like that.
Do you see some kind of Terminator scenario as a possibility?
It's not. I don't think it's the short-term risk. I mean,
Maybe the long-term risk.
I mean, I think the short-term risk or medium-term risk is more, powerful AI being used by bad actors to do bad things, and or the U.S. loses the AI race to another country, and that could shift the balance of power in a way that we don't like. So to me, that would be more of like a near-term risk. When you start talking about things like the singularity or control, like the AI basically becomes alive or sentient or whatever the things you want to talk about. I just I'm not saying that can happen, but it feels like much further down the road.
We wouldn't. Yeah. Did you see the Ray Dalio conversation with Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, I did actually. I thought it was good.
That time warp in the next, he says, the next 5 years, and Elon Musk said we're very close to the singularity. Looking at a couple years ago, I was making photographs of Nancy Pelosi, and it was a grotesque Picasso painting. And then a year later, it was a perfect, but still obvious artistic rendition. Now we're at the point where you can make photos and videos that are indistinguishable from real life.
Right.
It feels like the development it's exponential. Once, as you mentioned, I forgot what it's called, the recursive growth.
Recursive self-improvement.
Recursive self-improvement.
Yeah.
We don't. I agree. The issue. We don't know how it's going to change and what it's become
Yeah.
and how it's going to guide itself.
I can tell you a story about
Yeah.
how this could happen. So, I mean, here's the thing: is I generally think people are a little too obsessed with the safety risks. So, I know it kind of goes against the grain of what we're saying, but the vice president just gave a speech in Paris at the AI summit where it began with, "I'm here to talk about AI opportunity, not AI safety," because literally the only conversation among regulators has been about, quote unquote AI safety, and just about the only conversation in the media has been about all of the risks. And I think that there are a lot of opportunities, and we don't spend enough time talking about that. But I'm happy to kind of talk about some of the risks if you want. But
Well, let's talk about the opportunities.
yeah, I mean, well, I just think that it's going to be an incredible tool for productivity, for knowledge workers. And the U.S. is $35 trillion in debt. We have to pay off that debt. You're not going to be able to do that unless you have an economic boom. You need you need productivity to drive that boom. And that's what AI has the potential to do. It's a little bit like the internet in the late 90s, where it led to this huge productivity boom. It's going to make all of us more productive. It's going to kind of give all of us, superpowers we didn't have before, whether you're an artist or, some sort of knowledge worker. It's going to allow you to, operate at a much higher level. I mean, we all see it today, even with the way the tools are today. I mean, it's such an incredible time savings when there's some topic you want to know an answer to, and you just type it in, you get...
I do it every day.
Yeah, you get the background.
Fact checking, instantly. And then look at the sources real quick.
Right. But AI's been available commercially now for about 2.5 years, and no one's lost their jobs because of it. I'm not saying that can't happen in the future. I'm not saying there's not some future disruption that's going to happen. But I think people are dwelling on scenarios that don't exist yet, and they could materialize. But I'd say that so far, this tool has been something that's been very useful to us.
We do focus, even us on our show, on the risks, the safety, the fears, the negativity. Right. But one opportunity that we interviewed somebody, personalized medical care. They were explaining that if AI is developed to the point we hope it will be, you could take someone's blood sample,
right,
run it into a computer, and it'll look at what the levels of, the salt levels, potassium, iron, whatever, and immediately able to diagnose any kind of genetic disorder or an infection, and then customize a medication specifically for that person.
Yeah, I don't know about that last part yet, but I think that, copying and pasting a blood panel into the right AI, you would definitely be able to get explanations of what's happening.
Finding cancers before a human could.
So, yeah. There's going to be huge advances in medicine as a result of this. You just need large data sets, and you're going to be able to find answers. Just imagine a scenario where you're in a doctor's office, you're talking to the doctor, and that conversation just gets recorded as data for, it could be your personal AI that runs on your phone, and now you can ask it questions later about, wait, what did the doctor say to me, and what do you mean by that, and you could take that visit and all previous visits along with your blood results and so forth, and you could ask the AI for its own diagnosis. And so, there's just like a million things that are going to be available.
I envision a future where after the singularity, when it's improving itself faster than we can, theoretically, or I should just say, I'll keep it light, there's a probability that it's going to be able, from the sound of your voice, be able to predict a health ailment or something that's going to affect you. From an MRI scan, it's going to be able to tell you that in 7 years, based on your current diet, blood levels, and what they see in your body, you're going to develop cancer in this area. And theoretically, if we get to the point of the purest full data sets are being ingested into this machine, it's going to be able to predict with great probability things that will happen in the future. With the obvious caveat being, obviously, it's not going to be able to say 5 years from now a plane is going to crash in this place at this time. It's going to say something like the chance of rain in a month from now is going to be like the forecasting. Right. Obviously, the further you go in the future, the more variables will obscure things, but the predictive capabilities will seem like an oracle to us. So my concern is, final question, I guess, do you see a possible future where humans disconnect from the skill sets needed to run these things? Like, if the AI starts to run itself in such a way that it just tells the human, hey, look, put some iron over here and our robots will figure it out. There's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where there's a planet of people who have an oracle that tells them what to do and when to do it. They don't know how it works. Is that possible for us?
Whenever you're talking about these like science fiction scenarios, you're kind of getting into a future that's hard to foresee. Yeah, it's a lot easier to talk about what's going to happen in the next year or two than what's going to happen in 10, 20, or 50 years.
Right.
I tend to think that this is a technology that we can harness, that it'll be helpful to us. It'll stay under our control. I don't want to be cavalier about the risk.
Optimistic.
I don't want to be cavalier about the risk that we could lose control. The thing that's happening right now is that in the AI labs, they're making tremendous progress on reasoning models through the use of reinforcement learning techniques. And so you saw with like DeepSeek with the R1 or OpenAI launched O1 and O3. Those are reasoning models. And so what they can do is you can give it a complicated problem, and the old sort of LLMs would just spit out like an answer, and sometimes it would just be it wouldn't be very good. It would kind of hallucinate, couldn't answer a complicated problem. But you take a reasoning model, and it can break a complicated problem into a series of smaller, more discrete, simpler problems, and then solve them sequentially. And it can show its reasoning process, right? So that's what's happening right now. And so that's a very promising new breakthrough, basically, or this new category of reasoning models. And where that's going to go is agents, right? Because you'll be able to give an objective, sort of a more complicated objective, to an agent that's basically powered by a reasoning model, and it'll break it into a series of tasks, and it'll be able to go off and accomplish those tasks for you. Wow. And then some of the other things are, I think, on the very, very near horizon is tool use. So AIs will be trained on how to use, it already knows how to use the web, right? It can search for you. It'll very soon be trained on how to use pretty much any website. So any SaaS product, right?
Fintech, man.
Fintech, yeah. So if you think about like all the different tools that are available on the web, kind of any tool that a knowledge worker knows how to use, you could train an AI on how to use it just by recording enough knowledge workers doing their day job, right? So you go from reasoning models to agents, to sort of agents combined with tool use, and then you can start to construct kind of like virtual employees, kind of. I mean, I don't think they're going to be.
Oh man.
I don't think they're like a full employee replacement, but you can start to train them on more complicated scenarios to address.
True.
Absolutely. And I should say that two of the areas where reinforcement's really working very well is programming and math, because you can validate the results very quickly and make sure that they're accurate. So these new AI models are getting really good at coding.
Yeah, I've seen people make video games.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's crazy.
It's going to allow it's going to allow average coders to get a lot more, or just you don't even have to be trained in coding. You just have to pick up a minimum level of skills, and you'll be able to use AI models to basically program anything.
It sounds like, give it a year or two, or just whatever in the development. One of my predictions, or I should say, like one of the things I see is opening up Netflix AI and saying, "Give me a movie about Spider-Man marrying She-Hulk."
Yeah.
And it'll just make it for you.
That's the scenario that JCal on All In Pod is really excited about. This thing he always talks about is
I want Spider-Man to marry She-Hulk.
Yeah, and he's like, I want to create my own episodes of Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of funny that he'll go from talking about the singularity, saying this is really dangerous, to saying, yeah, but I wanted to see that episode of Star Wars I never got.
But
so
making video games, like we've seen people program Snake and asteroids using Grok, but how long until they can make AAA level games where you can say, look, I want to be a mystic knight fighting a dragon, make the game for me, and then it just renders it?
It's getting, like I said, programming and then math are the two areas where AI's capabilities are getting really good, really fast.
Last quick question. Do you think AI will be able to solve math problems or like make discoveries in mathematics humans have not yet made?
Yeah, I think so, potentially. I mean, I don't want to say for sure, but the thing about math is that it operates based on proofs, and so you can go back and check and see if a proof is correct. And so that's a very fertile area for AI, because it can do what's called self-play, where like how in chess, like DeepMind created AlphaGo and was it AlphaZero, where it basically got better than human at Go and chess, and the way it did it is through self-play, right? So first they trained it on all the games that previously existed, but that still didn't make it that great. But then when it let the AI play itself, basically, it started generating data on millions or even billions of games, and it started discovering deep concepts in chess or in Go that humans hadn't even discovered yet.
Wow.
And that's where, and so again, that concept of that's all reinforcement learning, right?
Just real quick, it is a fact statement to say that AI has made a discovery that humans have not.
In games like Go or chess, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, there's a movie that was made about DeepMind, kind of, I don't know if you can use the word solve, but basically creating an AI that beat the world master in Go, and there was like a specific move that the AI came up with that no human had ever seen before, and everyone was like, wait, what just happened?
So I'm a big poker player, Texas Hold'em, and they had a bunch of the top players play against an AI.
Yeah.
And they were all defeated. they were frustrated because they didn't understand. It felt like the AI could read their minds. It knew when they were bluffing. It knew when they had it. It folded all the right moments. And I asked one of the top players about it, and I said, does it just read your movements? Does it know you paused for 5 seconds here? And he says, no, it's playing perfect mathematics.
Yeah.
It's simply looking at the probabilities, how much money it has, the cards that it has, the cards that it's seen, and deciding when to make a move, and you're trapped.
Yeah.
So, David, this has been really great. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Absolutely.
Right on. Do you have like a Twitter or an X? Or people follow
Yeah.
you?
So I'm at David Sachs on Twitter, and I used to do the All In Pod every week, and now because I'm working for the government, I drop in when there's something to talk about that's connected to something I'm doing with AI or crypto.
Right on. Well, thanks for hanging out, man. It's been a blast.
Good to hang with you.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. That was great. We did 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I